Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today the theme of this video and the format is going to be a little different. We're going to be talking about relationships and politics and how they function together today. So this all came to mind because I was watching a live stream with two YouTubers I really appreciate, Roaming Millennial and Hi I Think I'm Real. I'll link that in the description. However, they really had this discussion about how much relationships and politics are intertwined, how problematic politics can be in terms of relationships, how politics complicates relationships, and so forth. So, I found this article online, and it's a long article, so I'll link it just so you can get all the context if you're interested. And it's called, "He Likes Trump, She Doesn't, Can This Marriage Be Saved?" So, this article discusses two couples where obviously there was a debate between Hillary versus Trump. So this article discusses couples who have disagreements in terms of their political views. And it was really interesting because it seems like it only popped up once Trump appeared. Both couples had been together for a long time. The first one, they spent 20 years married. And they were always fine previous to Trump with having different political views. I think in the last elections, they even had two different signs on their front lawn because they were fine with having different beliefs. However, once it was time to vote Trump or Hillary, these couples became extremely divided to the point where this first couple who had been together for 20 years, the wife said that she would divorce him and move to Canada if he voted for Trump, which is a really huge jump considering that, like I said, in the 20 years previous, it wasn't a big deal. Now, obviously, Trump is a character. Whether you like him or not, he's a character. Like, he's very different, which is why some people like him and which is why some people despise him. I wanted to think about and discuss, and you guys can tell me what you think, how big of a place politics should have in a relationship. And one great point that was brought up in the live stream I mentioned is that there's a difference between politically agreeing and agreeing in terms of values, expectations, and so forth. And I really think that that's what matters, because the bottom line is, if, for example, me and Jacob can agree that we are for honesty, transparency, we also both don't want kids, like we have a setup of what we want generally in life, what we want in our relationship, and just generally what it is that we would want ideally in our lives in all facets. So once you agree on that, to me it's very difficult to think that let's say I supported Hillary and he supported Trump. I don't think I would have such a difficult time accepting that if our values were still as they were before. If values change, that's a different topic. But as long as you can both agree that XYZ matter to you, I don't think it should be that polarizing. However, I know I'm gonna get a few comments losing their shit because I have seen so many people, especially the SJWs, of course, and I've seen people in my own classes in grad school talking about this, about how they have relatives that no longer talk to each other because one of them voted for Trump, or one of them even just agreed with Trump on a certain thing, even if they might have not voted for Trump, and how it seemed like an end-all be-all. And while I can understand that politics certainly is very important, I also don't think we can see it as an all-encompassing thing. Like, if we talk about music, it's gonna be politicized, like with Eminem, or Taylor Swift, because she isn't political, and that's a problem too. If we talk about movies, it'll also turn to politics because we'll talk about the post-9/11 world. If we do anything, it's politicized, and we see this even with people calling everything fucking racist, like with those temporary tattoos. So, honestly, I don't understand that. Surely you can look at everything through any lens. I can look at everything through an LGBT lens. I can look at everything through a race lens. I can look at everything through a political lens. The issue is, when it's so polarizing and so dividing, I don't think it's always that helpful to look at things through a political lens. However, if you are in a committed relationship with someone, or even spending a lot of time with someone, whether you're together in a traditional way or not, inevitably it's likely to come up, or something connected to politics is going to come up. And I just don't think it should be a deal breaker, like I said, as long as the values are there. I wanted to read a couple of moments of this article that I thought were interesting. So it says, therapists say you have the best relationships when you're clearly separate people, and I like to think that we are emotionally centered so that we can have a major disagreement about something and it's not a big problem. And I completely agree with that, because I don't think that realistically anyone is going to find someone that they completely agree with on everything. And if they did, I feel like it would get boring because it'd be kind of like dating yourself, but I digress. And on that note, even Jacob and I are quite different politically. Actually, I don't even know how he defines himself. Let me ask. Okay, so Jacob and I talk about politics, but we never give labels, which is why I had to ask. So Jacob is center, left-leaning. He's not an SJW by any means, but he does lean towards the left. I'm center, and I think I lean a little bit more towards the right. I'm not even really that sure that I feel that way. I'm still kind of figuring out where my political stance even is, because to be quite frank, I don't really like putting labels because I feel like I don't really fit any, which I'm not saying I'm a special fucking snowflake. It's just hard to figure yourself out. But anyways, we are both center, but we lean different ways, and that's not a huge difference, but there are things that him and I do not agree on. Can this be what breaks up a marriage? Honestly, to me, if you're married to someone, you should know where they stand on these kinds of things before getting married. And if it is what breaks up your marriage, what breaks up a long-term relationship, a serious relationship, then I think that there are other problems. So then there was another interesting part of this article where this woman who runs the Manhattan matchmaking service, Agape Match, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, she said that usually they ask their clients what deal breakers are for their relationships, and it's always been smoking first, and now as a second thing, supporting Trump is the second. So I thought that this was interesting because it shows exactly how unwilling people are to even hear someone out. Like, I can understand if you don't want to be with a Democrat or if you don't want to be with a Republican, you're totally entitled to that. But I think that this shows specifically how polarized both sides are, to the point where it's not even, I would rather not, it's like deal breaker, this will not fly whatsoever, which is very interesting. But I wanted to kind of open up the discussion and talk about it with you guys because obviously the person I'm closest in the States to is Jacob, and the other people don't live in the States, so it's not like they really care about American politics, so you guys, I figured would have some more input. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. Let me know how much of a deal breaker this is for you, the agreement on politics, on everything. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know, and let's get on with the fan art.